You must get married soon. Winnie down the road has been married 7 times now, and yet you can't even secure a single marriage entry. Rachel's mother would say this every time she visited her. Rachel and Wendy were workmates at a big glass manufacturing company. They were both 26 years old and shared the same rented flat. Rachel and Wendy had known each other since childhood. Their parents were always pushing them to get married before they reached menopause. Even though they were both quite pretty, they just couldn't find a perfect gentleman. One evening after a work event, Rachel got very drunk. Fortunately, she was staying at the hotel where the event was being held, together with some top company executives. They needed a few secretaries to help them out the next morning. Rachel was amongst the people chosen to help out the next day. The journey to her room was anything but straightforward. In a hallway that suddenly seemed to stretch like a never-ending Minecraft, she stumbled, only to fall into the arms of a stranger. However, this was no ordinary stranger. He was a handsome enigma, swaying on his feet, his breath heavy with the scent of whiskey and whimsy. He seemed to be more drunk than Rachel. Rachel, caught in the moment, hugged him and declared him the cutest sight she'd seen all night. He was the most handsome man she had ever seen. One thing led to another. Before she knew it, the two shared a night of passion together. In the morning, Rachel awoke with her head pounding in protest. To her horror, she looked at the handsome man lying beside her. It was Mr. Johnson, her boss, known for his ruthless efficiency. He was a no-nonsense person. "What the hell have I done?" Rachel muttered to herself. Rachel had made mistakes before, but had never made such a life-changing mistake like this before. Mr. Johnson was the company's formidable executive, known for his ruthless efficiency and known to dislike substandard work. Most employees were scared of working with him. His subordinates were now used to resubmitting or revising work previously submitted until it was perfect. He was a perfectionist. The horror of her realization sent her scrambling out of bed, her mind racing with the implications of her actions. Rachel disappeared in a flash. Once she got home, Rachel was panicking. She was afraid that Mr. Johnson would recognize her at work and risked a potential fallout. Rachel's anxiety held her captive. She took 2 days off, fearing the potential fallout with her boss. She had to think of a way to look different and also make a long-term plan to be transferred to another branch in another province. During her off days, Rachel went to the saloon and got her hair braided, and she bought some nerdy-looking spectacles. Rachel had to risk wearing spectacles as she waited for her application to be transferred to another branch to be approved. She did look somewhat different, and she felt she might be able to stay disguised for a few days before she leaves. Meanwhile, Mr. Johnson also came to his senses that he had shared an unforgettable night of passion with someone. He knew it was one of the employees, but could not remember who. As he was looking for his shoes, he found a resume for Wendy which Rachel had printed at work, intending to give it to Wendy. It somehow fell off her bag in the heat of the moment. Mr. Johnson obviously assumed the girl he was looking for was Wendy. That is when the mix-up began. Mr. Johnson asked his bodyguards to go and look for the mystery lady at the address on the resume and bring her to him. Since Wendy was looking for a job, she thought maybe Rachel had connected her to Mr. Johnson. When Wendy got to Mr. Johnson's house, he started explaining how he would take responsibility for what happened. He then gave her 2 options to come and stay with him as his woman, or to get $50,000 as compensation. Mr. Johnson did not want this incident to ruin his reputation. That is why he offered some form of compensation. At first, Wendy wanted to say you are mistaken. Then when the prospect of possibly marrying a handsome rich guy crossed her mind, she told Mr. Johnson that she wanted 3 days to think about it. She asked him how he got the resume. Then he said it must have fallen out of the bag the previous night. At that moment, Wendy knew that something went down between Mr. Johnson and her friend Rachel. Of course, Wendy knew this was a case of mistaken identity, but still she had the audacity to call Mr. Johnson and told him she was accepting the offer. Look out for A Night to Remember Part 2. Follow, like, share, and repost, for I am posting exciting stories like these every day.